home, which has been going on for, in my mind, at least 5 years, but that number keeps changing. And it's been a place of beautiful exploration into our daily experiences through the filter of a Tibetan Buddhist perspective, and also just through Phuntsok's perspective in what he brings with his life and his journey as well. So that involves other pieces, other spiritual walks as well. And today's talk is about right view. So a lot of us know the Four Noble Truths, but I think the Eightfold Path is a little bit less discussed, even though the phrase might be really familiar to us. And right view is one of the Eightfold Path's kind of teachings, I guess, or kind of prescriptions to how to find a more liberated experience in this life. And I had to look it up, and The Lion's Roar, which is a Buddhist kind of magazine and website, defines right view as having a correct understanding of how reality and suffering are intertwined. So it's a big one. And today's topic was offered by Musonda, who I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. And so I'd love to give you a moment, if you feel comfortable and no pressure at all, to speak a little bit about your question and what you were kind of interested in learning more about concerning right view. Oh, you're muted, yeah.
You did quite a good job. Yeah, it's Musonda.
Musonda, okay.
Yeah. My question was really around the practicality of it and how to apply it in daily life. So I have the issue of reading a lot of the suttas and not really understanding how to apply them. And I think from what I've heard, to have any chance of applying the Four Noble Truths, you have to understand the Eightfold Path. So I thought it would be nice to start off with like what the basics are, as a good starting point to build on.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. Yeah, and I guess with that, we can turn it over to Phuntsok. And just a reminder that Phuntsok's Venmo and Patreon are in the chat. This is a donation-based space, so please find what feels good for you to offer, and you can go to those places to contribute. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you very much for this question. I love these questions. Oh my goodness. I look like I'm not where I am. Thank you very much for the question. And I have to say, I love these kinds of questions where we are looking at what are really fundamental topics in Buddhism. And because they're fundamental, they are sort of glossed over in the very beginning when we were introduced to Buddhism. We sort of come across these terms because they are fundamental. They are universal to all Buddhist traditions. It doesn't matter where. It doesn't matter where this Buddhist tradition is practiced. They all hold these universal, you could say, principles. That's why they are all Buddhist. The Eightfold Path, Four Noble Truths, and are very fundamental. If you can sort of summarize the entire path into just these two understanding, then you could say you understand the whole of Buddhism. And you can even say that every other thing that we study about Buddhism is basically an elaboration on these principles, the principles of the Four Noble Truth and the Eightfold Path. And the Eightfold Path is actually a part of the Four Noble Truth. So if you understand the Four Noble Truth, you understand the entirety of Buddhism. And that's why once in a while I like to point out this story that all Buddhist traditions understand, and to point something out that is somewhat glossed over, and to 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 sort of demonstrate the importance of the Four Noble Truth. In the myth or the story of how when the Buddha became enlightened, he was first with some companions, and they were doing a very difficult ascetic practices where they were basically starving themselves, and with the understanding that if you cause yourself pain, you will, in a sense, burn out bad karma, and then eventually, at the end of it, you will reach liberation. And the Buddha, the one who eventually became the Buddha among them, became so emaciated, so weak, that not only was he weak physically, he also realized that he was also weak mentally. So he discovered what became Buddhism, which is what is referred to as the middle path, the middle way. And in the middle way, he was avoiding all extremes of what you might call mortifications and extremes of indulgence. And the middle path is supposed to be the path that leads to the liberation that we seek. Even though it may seem on the appearance of it that in order to achieve some sort of success, in order to achieve some sort of liberation, you must exert yourself to an extreme in one direction or another. But this very extreme exertion is actually the very thing that ends up keeping you away from the liberation that you're seeking. So a middle path, a middle way is actually the way of actually achieving what we are aspiring to achieve. This wasn't supposed to be something like that, but it comes on during the talk. This will become more and more evident. But anyway, in that, after the Buddha achieved enlightenment and he was seeking who can he teach what he has discovered, and he remembered his companions, and he walked in the direction where he remembered the last where his companions were, and eventually they met. And there's a whole thing that happened the first time they met, but the thing is about the Four Noble Truth is that so they all recognized that he discovered something. There was something different about him. There's something special about him. And they wanted to know what happened. Did he finally find what they were all looking for together? And he simply spoke the Four Noble Truth without any elaboration. And one amongst them got it immediately and achieved liberation. And it is this part of the story that is sort of glossed over, that is not really elaborated upon, where it is telling us, just by understanding the Four Noble Truth, if you're ready, you will achieve liberation. So because that was what helped that person achieve liberation, so that means it's an understanding of the Four Noble Truth that leads to the liberation. And we will express what's liberation and all that kind of stuff later on. Then for the others, he had to elaborate on what he meant by the Four Noble Truth. And each time he elaborated, another person got it. Oh, now I get it. And that person achieved liberation. And so with these five, just by elaborating a little bit on the Four Noble Truth, they were able to gain liberation that they were seeking. And for the rest of us, up to us, now the elaboration has become 84,000 volumes of text to explain the Four Noble Truth, where we have, to even make it more elaborate, we have open teachings, secret teachings, very secret teachings. Oh my God, oh my God, so secret teachings. I can only tell one of you at a time because it's so secret. It's all that is telling us that uh, our mind, our capacity to understand is so thick. We are so far from 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 truth that we need very elaborate means, very drastic means of achieving what it took that first disciple just listening to the Four Noble Truths being revealed. Okay, and what makes the Four Noble Truths wonderful is that it's not like it was something that no one could. It's like no one could understand. It's like no one could have come up with by themselves. They're very simple because they're describing our own experiences. Right? Okay, so and one of them is we're not going to focus on the Eightfold Path. We are going to focus on one of the Eightfold Path, which is right view, the first of the Eightfold Path. And the others, maybe I'll mention them, but I will not elaborate on them. But I want to elaborate on the right view, and especially its relationship to our why, what makes it right view, and why should we bother with right view, and how is that pertinent to our life, to our everyday life. Okay. All right. So before we begin into further elaborations, so let's do a meditation. This meditation is merely relaxing. Since it is merely relaxing, begin with the intention to have your mind as open as possible. Not some ultimate openness, but to be open. Just hold that in your mind. You want to have your mind open to experiences, open to what is actually there. And as you are holding your mind with this intention, allow this to be communicated to your body. And listen to the intelligence in the body responding to this intention. It wants to cooperate. It wants you to have this experience that you're seeking in your intention. So the communication arises within you as an instinct, an impulse to make changes in your posture. So that's that intelligence communicating to you. So listen to it. Apply the adjustments that it suggests about your legs. And as you're applying the adjustments, begin to notice that you're already beginning to taste the meditative state in the legs themselves. The taste is a taste of a sense of calm, a sense of pleasantness. Noticing that, reward yourself for making that connection, for fulfilling your intention by rejoicing. And bring attention to your torso. You want your torso to be upright but not uptight. Also relaxed from the hips to the shoulders. And here too, begin to notice the signs of calm and pleasantness, the signs that you're tasting the meditative state already, and rejoice here also. Do the same with the arms, from the shoulders to the tip of the fingers. And place your arms, your hands in such a way that they give you the sense that you're not just sitting, you're actually meditating. So whatever works for you, whatever gives you that sense, palms resting on palms, thumbs touching, not touching, palms facing down on your knees, on your lap, palm facing up, doing some sort of mudra with your fingers, whatever works for you that gives you the sense that I'm not just sitting, I am meditating. And also feel the signs also appearing in the arms. Then bring attention to the head and neck. Allow them to be centered so there's no conscious effort in holding them in place. Mouth, teeth, tongue resting in their natural places. Feel a sense of relaxation in the muscles of the face and forehead, or invite that. And gently come rest your attention in the eyes as they rest softly. Resting softly for you can be eyes completely closed, or it could be slightly opened. It could be halfway open, whatever, however you want to place your eyes that gives you the sense of eyes resting, where in the eyes you also feel the same sense of calm or some measure of calm and pleasantness that you feel in the other parts of the body. Now that you've scanned and covered the entire body and you've connected through the body with a taste of the meditative state, now let's make the commitment to fully enter the meditative state. Think of this where you are right now in the sensation that you're feeling in the measure of calm and pleasantness in the body as being on the bridge to, and you're about to take the last step, the commitment step to fully enter the meditative state. And understand that once you've made that commitment, once you make that breath, consider every experience that is taking place, no matter how it is coming to you, from whether it's seeming to come from outside or it's seeming to come from within, consider that to be your experience of your meditation. Keeping that in mind will help you deepen the meditation. So get ready to make that commitment breath. Through the nose, gently, deeply breathe in. And through the mouth, completely release. And as you release, let go, feel the letting go in the body, feel the letting go in the breath, feel the letting go in the mind, keep letting go, feel that momentum of letting go, stay with that momentum of letting go, leave the breath alone and just stay in that momentum of let go, let go, let go, let go. Notice the signs enhancing in the body, notice the signs enhancing in the breath, notice the signs enhancing in the mind, rejoice, witnessing them, keep letting go, staying in that momentum of letting go, letting go, letting go. And that's all you're going to be doing for the rest of the meditation. Just keep letting go, rejoicing, witnessing the experience of letting go. What's happening to the body as you let go? What's happening to the behavior of your breath? How you experience the breath as you let go? What's happening to the mind? The things that comes up, this thing that you are aware that do not come up. So stay in that. And with the arising of inner sensations, know that this is a taste, this is an indirect experience of the innate clarity of your mind. And the vividness, a sense of presence of these experiences, a sense of nowness of these experiences are an indirect indication of the natural luminosity of your mind. Because there's no grasping, because there's no rejection, feel the sense of freedom. There's no need to stop your mind from engaging in discursive activity. Let the mind be free to engage in discursive activity as much as it wants, and to just stay in the background, observing the experience. Within this measure of calm, within this measure of pleasantness in the body, in the breath, and the mind, within this measure of clarity and radiance, this measure of calm and this measure of focus, gently, without disturbing it, staying within the experience by being aware of it, gently bring attention to the level of your eyebrows, in the space in front of you. And begin to then recognize, begin to notice a kind of sensation arising in the forehead where you might call, or somewhere around the area that is referred to as popularly as the third eye. And upon noticing that, upon recognizing that, however it appears to you, rejoice, acknowledge it, ascribe to it. This is the presence of my potential. This is my guide. This is my protector, making its presence felt. And also a sign of your natural ability to focus. And keep letting go, keep letting go, keep letting go, keep letting go until it feels that there's no more letting go you can do with the body, and then let it be happening at the level of energy. Then let it happen at the level of mind. And letting go in the mind means let the mind be free. If it wants to engage in discursive thinking, let it engage in discursive thinking. Direct the discursive thinking actually towards the actual experience, and look for experiences that, even though you're not stopping discursive thinking from engaging, from describing, but they are in a sense beyond the, the ability or the capacity, the limits of discursive thinking. And in that space, keep going deeper, keep going deeper, keep going deeper, keep being aware of those experiences that are beyond discursive thinking. Deliberately let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. And within this measure of being in a meditative state, we will stabilize and deepen with 3 full breaths. Through the nose, gently breathe in. And again, through the mouth, just completely really surrender to the experience. And stay connected to the experience that is taking place as you let go, noticing the deep breathing taking place, let go, let go, let go. And at the end of the breath, without forcing the inhalation to come back, wait for it to come back, and gently stay where the exhalation took you as you breathe in again. Another full breath in through the nose. And release. As you release, release in the body, release in the breath, release in the mind. Let it take you. Let go, let go, let go. Let the inner sensation get stronger. Stay with that loud, stay with that vividness, stay with that sensation, stay with the swaying. Do not reject, do not grasp. And for the 3rd time, through the nose, another full breath. Breathe in and out. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. So whatever's happening in the body, that's your body in that level of meditation. Notice the definite signs, rejoice. However your breath is behaving, that's your breath in meditation, in this level of meditation for you. Noticing the signs, rejoice. Whatever is going on in your mind, whether they're familiar, whether they're unfamiliar. That's your mind at this level of meditation. Recognize the signs, rejoice. And stay letting go, keep letting go. Have deep respect for yourself, for the journey itself, and for the potential summoning you. Trusting where it's taking you, where it's guiding you. And being grateful to yourself, to the journey, to being guided. Remember, deliberately direct discursive thinking. Let it be free to be present, directed towards the experiences. Let it engage, let it marvel at the experiences. And as you go deeper into the experiences, notice the beautiful piece of the limits of discursive thinking, discursive activity, and go deep into that piece. There's nothing to grasp. There's nothing to reject. All experiences are already free. All experiences are but mere appearances, arising from the very clarity, the very luminosity. Allow all experiences to return to clarity and luminosity. And get ready to arise from the meditation. First, take a moment. Notice the space itself. Take a deliberate look at the space of your meditation. How your body is right now. That's your body in meditation at this level. However your breath is behaving, however familiar it may be, however unfamiliar it may be, that's your breath right now in meditation. Whatever's happening in the mind, however familiar or unfamiliar, that's your mind at this level of meditation. Noticing them, rejoice, and get ready to arise with the intention to arise. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose, feel it, hear it. Through the mouth, breathe out. And reconnect to your immediate surroundings through your sense of touch, your sense of hearing, and your sense of sight. All right. If you had your body in a pretzel, in order to meditate, you can unpretzel your body. That was funny way back then when I used to say it, but it's not so funny anymore. Okay. All right. So in that meditation, of course, the meditation has something to do with the topic. When, for whatever reason, a reason that was for you real, you sought a means to address something that was happening to you, something that was palpable, something that you felt that needed to be addressed. And you begin to look, begin to read, you bought books, you listened to different lecturers, to different teachers, and they started to say something that seemed to strike a chord with you, that seems to be familiar and at the same time new. And when you first caught it, when you first heard it, it felt something that was immediately applicable, something that is definitely related to your search, something that is definitely related to the very reason why you were looking, why you were searching. But unfortunately, it's not something that, it's not like Kundonya, I believe was the name of the disciple of the Buddha. I'm not quite sure, but it sounds like that was the name of the disciple who just got it at the first time. Unfortunately, we're not Kundonya. Just like I'm sure all the others who sat there who were there sitting, listening to the first pronouncement of the Dharma, which is called turning of the wheel of the Dharma at the time. They were all intrigued. They all felt they heard something very familiar, and they, even though they didn't get it at first, but something about it made them want to stay and continue to hear. So just like when we read that book, when we read that verse, when we heard that person, there was something about it that it struck us. And it didn't strike us in a way, well, oh, that's a beautiful thing. It'll be something nice to decorate my bookshelf with, or something to decorate my mind with. A wonderful thing to, beautiful decoration to have when you're in a party, and then you can have something profound to say, and that's all the purpose that it serves. Something to say that makes you sound very smart, make you sound very interesting in a party or when you're with others. Even though you experience that as you were unraveling this experience that you had, having made contact with something profound, but you don't quite fully understand, you don't quite have not fully unraveled, but it touched you at the core. And in trying to go deeper and deeper into it, you became a fanatic, perhaps. You wanted everyone to know about it. You wanted to describe it to everyone. And the more you described it, it seems like by describing it, you were trying to get deeper into it, but you begin to be further and further away. And as you begin to experience a sense of distance from it, you wanted to go deeper. So you studied more, you read more, you went to listen to more people, and it seemed to get a little bit more, but the distance seems to be growing. And eventually, unfortunately for a lot of us, that first sense of having touched something profound is still resounding within us. But because we have not yet found the practical application of it, it ends up something that is somewhat abstract, something that has somewhat of a distance. It doesn't seem to be, it seems to have lost that sense of immediate application, a possible application that when we first encountered it. And we hold on to it simply as a decoration, something nice to say, something to make yourself sound profound, either to yourself or to others. And that becomes, and that seems to become, that's it. And if you're persistent, and if that sense of needing, I need to address the thing that I needed to be addressed is not yet addressed fully yet. And it doesn't seem that this thing is fulfilling what it promised to address. And because of that, you could say because of the need, because of the connection to the need of what we need to be, to what needs to be addressed, then we start to look elsewhere. Perhaps that wasn't it. Perhaps that wasn't it. So we begin to look elsewhere. And that's good, actually. That's good in a sense. Or we fall into the other camp where we're no longer looking anymore. Almost as if we fall into a sense of complacency. It seems that we understand it. We are able to explain it to ourselves. We're able to explain it to others, but it's not striking us. It's not something that hits the core the way it did the very first time we heard it. And because of that, we are more or less pretenders. When we speak, it seems like we've touched something profound, but deep within us, we know that we are far from that. From that. So when you hear, if you haven't heard already, but most of you probably have heard correct view. The thing to remember, correct view was not presented to be a decoration, to be an ornament. It wasn't presented so that you can appear to be profound. It was presented for the very visceral experience that you were having, that you wanted to address. That's what it was presented. That's what we have to keep reminding ourselves. And it's not necessarily the correct view itself, but how much of it are we absorbing? How much of it are we allowing ourselves to fully understand? That's where the problem lies. When correct view is very abstract, and by very abstract, I mean uh, it doesn't seem to be something that is about what you're actually experiencing in your everyday life. But it appears to be poetry, something beautiful, just for something just to hang on a wall, some beautiful thing to hang on a wall. Okay. Not that things that you hang on a wall don't have meaningful, profound, don't give you profound experiences, but you know what I mean. You know, when you go to public places, things that are hung on the wall that you just pass by, and that's what they are. That's what they are, just things to pass by. The very fear that you are struggling with in your life, that's what the correct view was pointing to. That's what it was addressing. Whatever suffering, whatever pain that you are enduring, that you are having to undergo in your life, that's what correct view was addressing. That's what it's about. And don't let the suffering that correct view is supposed to be addressing, don't let that also become some sort of abstract, as if the very thing that you're experiencing, the very things which are your everyday visceral experiences, the fact that you have this problem and that problem, whether it's economic, whether it's social, whether it's psychological, whether it's physical, whether it's energetic, whatever it is that's going on, that in your life, that is where you're experiencing some sort of dissatisfaction, where you're experiencing some sort of pain, some sort of suffering. I have to say suffering. That's the suffering that correct view is supposed to address, not some abstract suffering. Okay. So you go in there, whatever it is that is going on in your life, however you're feeling, whether it's psychological, whether it's social, whatever it is. And that's how you should approach correct view. You should approach correct view with the sense that it should address this. Okay. So that's the why of, you could say the why of correct view. Now let's go into correct view, what it is. And I don't want to go into it, and I hope that the way we go into it tonight is not going to be a way where it becomes further decoration, further ornament. Okay. It should address whatever it is that's going on in your life that you want to address, that is immediate. Okay. Correct view, first of all, is not a means of escaping reality. That's the first thing. Even though sometimes the pain, the suffering that we are experiencing immediately from reality makes us want to get away from it. And the way of getting away from it seems to be to escape, not to deal with it, but to escape from it. If you approach correct view with that sense, with the need to escape, correct view will not help you. Correct view is not to help you escape reality. As a matter of fact, correct view is making you face reality. Nagarjuna said in the, I wish I could quote Nagarjuna nicely, and so I'm going to be quoting Nagarjuna a lot, because Nagarjuna is, at least within the Northern Buddhist, considered to be the authority on correct view, or the authority, the most authoritative person to present correct view in a way that is as profound and as subtle, that touches it as closely as words can touch it. Uh, Nagarjuna said in the, I mean, said many things, but one of the things that he said in the the middle way, fundamentals of the middle way. Okay, that's in one of the English translation of the text, and it's a very, very difficult text because it is so packed. Almost every phrase it needs a volume to explain. Okay, so Nagarjuna wanted to point out that without an intimate, I'm sort of paraphrasing, okay? Without an intimate understanding, and by intimate understanding, I'm talking about an intimate relationship with the very thing that is happening in your life. Forget about an ultimate. You will never be able to get there. So the only way to get to the ultimate is through having a very intimate experience, very intimate relationship with whatever is going on in your life. And this has to be pointed over and over and over again, because it seems like the way to get to the ultimate is through some perfect, other than what's happening now, experience. Then we'll get to the ultimate. And what is the ultimate? The ultimate is seeing reality for what it actually is. And what is the reality that we are supposed to see for what it actually is? The very experience that you're having, whatever's going on in your life, whatever you're perceiving, whatever you're experiencing, that's the reality that the ultimate is supposed to be the ultimate of. Okay, and it's not something else. Okay, if we keep looking for something else to guide it to show us the ultimate, then we will never get there. And suffering is presented in many different ways, and depending on the audience, depending on the status of a person hearing and listening. So I will say this in a very very elemental, very immediate way of a very immediate definition of suffering. Okay, whatever is going on, while it's going on, you wish it wasn't going on. That's suffering. Okay, whatever it is. And it's not something for you to compare with someone else for it to become suffering. Okay, you have parents who grew up in very difficult times, in very difficult ways, and worked hard until they established a sense of security for themselves, and a sense of security that they can hand over to their descendants, to their children. And now they have a child, or they have a child who is raised in that environment where they have perfect security. They really have no sense of needing much. Okay. And that's a beautiful thing for a parent to provide for their children. Now, for that child, this very condition could be suffering. And for us to tell that child, who are you? What is wrong with you? You have all this, and you're complaining, and you're saying you're suffering. You can't be suffering. We can't tell that child that. Because suffering is whatever is going on, that as it's going on, you wish it wasn't going on. Perhaps in a general way, there are certain things that this child is not experiencing that we can say is not suffering for that child. But we cannot tell that child that what is experiencing is not suffering. Okay. So with this general definition of suffering, so let's go a little deeper into it. Why is this experience coming up as suffering? Whatever the experience is. Let's go deeper into it. What is going on there? In a way, if you look at it a bit deeper, so whatever is going on, you wish it wasn't going on, okay? So why do we feel this sense of the sense of what would be a nice word for this? A sense of an uneasiness with the situation that is happening, with the experience that is taking place at the moment. What is happening at that moment? What is going on with our understanding of it? All these things are coming together to create the sense of uneasiness that eventually we label as, or we experience, we say this is suffering. Let's look. When you look deeper into it, you can say there is a kind of recognition going on, a kind of recognition. And what is that recognition that is taking place? A recognition of I don't know why, but automatically there seems to be an identification with what's going on. And yet, at the same time, there is something which is not clear to me, which is telling me, no, this is not identity. This is not ultimate identity. This is not true identity. There's a sense that this is true identity, and it's automatic. And underneath it, simultaneously with it, there is an unspoken, not even at the level of awareness, but simultaneously of conscious awareness, there is a sense of this is not ultimate identity. That is, this is not me. So you can say suffering, in a sense, is a call telling us that, A, we're not home. Remember last time, the sense of being is by definition is the fulfillment of the definition of being, where you arrive at a state where you can feel at home. You can feel really at home. You can feel, finally, this is me. I fulfill the definition of being. So suffering is telling us there's a wisdom within us that is not, whose voice is not loud enough for us to recognize it as a voice that is telling us, A, this is not the fulfillment of the definition of being. So, because this is not the fulfillment of the definition of being, and there is a grasping at it, there's a holding onto it as though it is the fulfillment of the definition of being. You can say because of this conflict going on, what we experience at the surface of conscious awareness is suffering. Okay, perhaps this may seem abstract, but it's not meant to be abstract. Okay, whenever, in whatever situation you're experiencing a sense of uneasiness, a sense of suffering that you can call painful, where you feel the need, you feel the wanting, the desire, the impulse to get away from it. At the deepest level, at the very deep level, there's what is happening, what is appearing as this discomfort, as this uneasiness, as this pain, is a message. This is not the fulfillment of the definition of being. Okay? So that's one way of looking at suffering. And because of looking at suffering in this way, one can say, oh, well, one can give some sort of positive approach to suffering, where you can say, oh, it's a good thing there is suffering because we grow, we evolve, eventually meaning that it helps us get to the fulfillment of the definition of being. But it's not that suffering is somehow intelligently, deliberately occurring, goading us to evolve. I mean, if you want to, if that helps you, okay, it's okay, because Nagarjuna says in the very text that explains the most sophisticated way of presenting correct view, he says that every philosophy is made up. And here he is writing about the philosophy of the middle way. And he's saying every philosophy is made up. Okay, made up meaning whatever presentation that is given of the correct view is made up. That is, it is something, it is temporary. It is something only to help you. It is not the correct view itself. It is only Bruce Lee would say, was it Bruce Lee who said that, or was he quoting someone? It's a finger pointing, it's the finger pointing, it's not the finger itself. It's the, okay? So if it helps to say that suffering is helping you, okay, but don't hold on to it as though it's some ultimate thing. That's the nature of suffering, that it is there specifically to help you evolve. Okay. That's one thing, one ways of understanding suffering. Okay, so it is a message that there is a conflict about identity, or a conflict about I have fulfilled the definition of being, of that have not being done, but there is a conflict where there's a part that says it has been done, and there's a part that says, no, it has not been done. Okay. Now, what is it about the experience itself that makes it possible for this message to arise? What makes it possible for this message to arise? And that's where it seems like we're going to go into the abstract world. And I have to keep reminding you, this is not an abstract presentation. This is not to decorate. This is not ornament. Okay, this is about the very suffering that you're experiencing. This is about the very condition of your life that you are responding to. Okay. There is something about reality. And don't let your mind jump to some abstract world when you hear the word reality. Okay? Whenever you hear reality, immediately bring it back to what is going on in your life. What is going on? What is your experience? Okay? There's something about every experience that you have, that you are having, that you had, that you will have. There's something about them that makes it possible for us to experience on what seems to be an unlimited range of experiences. That whatever the experiencer is, whatever the experienced is, there's something about the two that allows relating. Whatever is the experiencer, whatever is me, whatever is Phuntsok, whatever is the experience of Phuntsok, there's something about Phuntsok, there's something about the experience that Phuntsok is experiencing. There's something about it that we experience, that we see, that's happening, that makes it possible for me to go and experience as real, as something that is actually happening, where I'm free to not be myself. That is an extremely profound thing to say, extremely profound thing about experience. It speaks about a level of freedom that is almost inconceivable. There's something about whatever it is that is Phuntsok. There's something about whatever it is that Phuntsok is experiencing that makes it possible for Phuntsok to experience not Phuntsok. And it's as real as anything is real. And when I'm experiencing not Phuntsok and not Phuntsok appears to be real, that is, it's an experience that I cannot deny that is taking place. And when that is happening, that's when Phuntsok experiences Phuntsok suffering. And there's something about Phuntsok, whatever Phuntsok is, whoever Phuntsok is, there's something about the experience that Phuntsok is having and a level of freedom within this field where Phuntsok, when Phuntsok experiences Phuntsok, that makes Phuntsok experience no Phuntsok. And when this is happening, the experience is peace. So when I am actually experiencing what can be said to be the fulfillment of being, there's no more conflict. That is, the experience and my understanding of it and my holding it are not in conflict. When there is this lack of conflict, then there is peace. But when there is a conflict, that is, whatever Phuntsok is, and then Phuntsok being free to experience not what Phuntsok is, I'm not trying to be abstract, Phuntsok experiences suffering. That equals suffering. And you could say the universe, the field that is the universe, is the freedom to allow this to take place. And because whether I experience peace, whether I experience disturbance, I am free to experience it, then Nagarjuna, in talking about correct view, points to a third. A third, you could say, that is not exclusive of those two experiences, but is somewhat beyond them. Okay? And because of this nature of experience, and that's why Nagarjuna says, when you have correct view, or when you understand correct view, you have let go of all views. When you have let go of all views, the view of suffering, the view of peace, and you abide in this whatever that we cannot, that words cannot described, that's when you abide in the correct view. Okay. And all this, again, seems to be abstract. And when you are contemplating this, and it seems to be taking you to some wonderland, so some Alice in Wonderland kind of thing, seems to have nothing to do whatsoever with your experience, with your reality, then you've gone away. You've gone away from what's actually taking place. You've gone away from the ability to really get to what is referred to as a true experience of correct view, seeing reality for what it actually is. So, the one who understands, and before I quote that, I have to now go deeper into now correct view. Okay, so correct view is, so you have two terms, right? You have two things in there: correct and then view. You understand correct and you understand view. What makes something correct and what is a view? And you put them together, correct view. The very instinct that you have about understanding of those two terms, and when you mash them together, that's what correct view is. Just like when the Buddha spoke to the 5 original disciples, the first one got it because the first one was open to really receive. The other ones were filtering what was being said. They got it, but at the same time, it's like it went in, wow, and then it went through a filter, and then it got mixed with whatever preconceived ideas of what they had about what it's supposed to be. And then when it came out not fully getting it. Okay. So that instinct you experience when I know what correct is, I know what view is, and that flash of a moment of understanding it, of being able to, yeah, I got it, that's it. Now, when you're trying to explain it, when you're trying to elaborate it, then all the habits of elaboration makes you speak about correct as though you have no idea what's correct, makes you speak about view as if you have no idea what's view. What is correct view? It is that within you, correct view, right? There is, or let's say this way, there is something within us that already has correct view. It is because of this that we experience suffering. Uh-oh, what did I just say? Did I just blame correct view? Did I just blame suffering on correct view? Like if we didn't have correct view, we didn't suffer? It is because deep within, there is a knowing of what reality is. And then superimpose on that, there is a playing of playing with reality where we are, for lack of a better way of saying it, pretending not to know reality, and then acting as if the reality that we are pretending is the reality. So because there is this already innate knowing of reality, and it is in conflict with this superficial surface misunderstanding, misinterpretation of reality, and it's because of this conflict, then there is suffering, right? So if we didn't have this innate understanding of the nature of reality, we would not suffer. We would not necessarily be in paradise, neither. Okay, don't think that, oh, that means we'll be in paradise. Let's get rid of let's get rid of this innate understanding of reality. This innate understanding of reality is inseparable with the fulfillment of being. So to get rid of it, you have to basically do the impossible, stop existing. Since that is impossible, you cannot cease to exist. That means this correct understanding is always there, always will be. It is part of you. It is you in a way of speaking. Okay? And because we are on the surface pretending, playing with reality, that is trying to make reality something that it is not. And because of this conflict, then there is pain. And the reason that there is suffering is not the playing. It is imposing on the play, the game, to be the reality that is supporting it. It is seeking to impose that on the play, on the game. Like you're playing cops and robbers, and then you're acting as if you're a really cop, you're a really robber. And you're forgetting that's a play. So you're no longer able to enjoy it. You understand? That's where the pain is not in playing cops and robbers. It's believing that you're a real cop when you're playing. It's really believing that you're a real robber when you're just playing. Okay? And that's where the suffering, that's what causes the suffering. It's not in the playing. Okay? Now, correct view. When after the in the presentation of the Four Noble Truth, know your life for what it actually is without pretense of what it actually is, and you will realize that you are constantly seeking to overcome it, seeking to transcend it. That's that need to transcend it, that uneasiness, that the fact. Okay, it's a fact of life. And whatever is for you is transcendence. Okay, it's transcending. You're not there yet. That's not being there. That's suffering. Okay, you can be in heaven, and if you still feel something higher to achieve, that is suffering, and suffering is very relative. Remember, a child is born in a very well-to-do family who loves him, who takes care of him, and yet that child could be suffering to the point where that child commits suicide. Right? And we can't say, who are you to be suffering when you're in such perfect environment? Your suffering is relative. Okay. And the thing is to understand, you suffer because you are free. You suffer because you are free. You have the awareness that this is not the ultimate. That's what's going on. I have an awareness deep within me that this is not the ultimate. It's not the fulfillment of being. And because of this awareness, because of this incredible, beautiful awareness deep within, of this recognition that this is not it, this is not it, that experience is suffering. Okay. It's not something to be shamed or bashed. It's just, that's what it is. Okay. And I'm not going to go into correct view in the way that you will read about it in the Buddhist literature, okay? Which will be just spouting words, blah blah blah. Okay. But I want to present it in such a way that it will strike you the first time you first read those words. Okay, that it is something to apply to your life as it is going on right here, right now. So when you realize the reason that the reason I'm aware of suffering is because I am free. The reason that I am experiencing suffering now is because something deep within me is recognizing this is not it. that itself, that recognition, allows you to transcend. Because the reason for transcending is that, remember, there is a part of us that believes we have arrived, we have fulfilled the definition of being. If it wasn't this going on, then there would be no need to transcend anything. It is this lie that we are trying to make into a truth, and that is fundamentally a lie. We have not fulfilled the definition of being, and we're acting as though we are holding on to the view that we have fulfilled that. That view that believes I have fulfilled the definition of being, when this has not happened, that's the wrong view. So correct view has many layers. One layer of it is, at the very immediate layer, is having an understanding that accords with reality, that accords with things as they are. And seeing that, I'm an angry person. And that is a relative truth. That is a correct view. Having a correct view is not thinking that, I'm a saint, I'm divine. That's not correct view. When that's not what you're experiencing, that's not what you're being. And what you're experiencing, I'm lost. And you see, yeah, this is lost. That's a correct view. When I try to meditate, my mind is very disturbed. And that is an experience that is accord with what is actually taking place. That is a correct view. So that when you are meditating and there's those moments of peace, that moment of recognizing those moments of peace, that's a correct view. When there is an understanding of what's going on as it is taking place, and you're not superimposing on the experience something else, what you would wish it to be, that is correct view. And one level of suffering is denying the very experience that we are having, superimposing on it something else. I am selfish, when it sounds like selfish is the nice thing to say, but you're not selfish. That's incorrect view. Look at this behavior. That's what is commonly known as being selfish, and it exists here. That's correct view. If that's what Nagarjuna is pointing to, if we don't look at our lives for what it's actually taking place, we will never be able to get to the ultimate. What is actually taking place here? It's not something for us to grasp. It's not something for us to reject neither. Reject in the sense of having discussed and thinking, no, this is not the path to get to the ultimate. I'm lonely. These are the conditions, when you put them together, that makes me experience loneliness, that makes loneliness an experience. And they are here. I'm having it. That's correct view. And if your understanding of what is actually taking place is not correct, it's not in line with what is actually taking place, if it is something to be transcended, how will we ever transcend it? So correct view is not some abstract, impossible thing. It begins with your actual experience and learning to see it for what it actually is. And it will be painful when you begin to see the ugly things that we call ugly that are present here. And that's why in all the manuals that teaches us about how to achieve single-pointed concentration, how to achieve samadhi, samatha, these kinds of things, one of the instructions is, I am disturbed. And to recognize it, that when you're disturbed, you're on the path to samadhi. But when you're disturbed and you refuse to recognize it, you refuse to acknowledge it, seeking something outside of your experience that is taking place, samadhi is not for you. You will never get there. Okay. So it is correct because your understanding is in line with, is in agreement with whatever is actually taking place in all the different levels that it takes place. Deep within us, we understand in order for an experience that we call a result to take place, the conditions that leads to it must be put in place. That is something that we have instinctively. So why is it that when we arrive at a voidness of an experience, somehow we act as if this is new to us? That we simply, the reason that the result is not experienced is because the conditions are not there. And when we ourselves initiate actions, take steps to bring about results that we have faith, that we have conviction will take place, why are we not at that moment stuck with, well, this is what the situation is, it will never change? No, why don't we buy that? Why is that not present in our mind and in those moments? Why is it that when we encounter a situation that seems difficult, we seem to be at a loss? We seem to be completely gaga. You completely forget this very fundamental thing. Results come from conditions being brought together. Every experience is a tertiary thing. Every experience is a byproduct, is the result of things coming together. Whatever it is, physical, emotional, mental, psychological, energetic, whatever is an experience, that is referred to, that is what we pointed to as the conventional. That is what is pointed to as reality that we are experiencing. And where does this come from? What's happening to it? What is there? It is the coming together of things. It's the interrelating of things. So when you look at your experiences, oh, look at that, I'm an angry person. You don't at that moment come to the conclusion that this is not something that is just simply the third thing, the arising because of conditions have come together. We shouldn't behave as though that's it. This is where I'm stuck. But rather have an understanding that, yes, there's all the things for there to be an angry person is there. That's correct view. And also understanding this is simply the outcome of things coming together. Whatever those things may be, doesn't necessarily mean that wherever there's anger, it has to be John and Mary had beat you up. Okay? Doesn't necessarily have to be that. Could be so many different things that for you give rise to the experience of, yeah, there's an angry person here. There's a selfish person here. There's a person here who's attached. Okay. When we realize that this experience that I'm having is nothing but the coming together of things, that's a correct view. And if the experience is telling you A, you are at the same time thinking you have fulfilled the definition of being when you have not, that is, it is uneasy, then that tells you, A, transcend this. It tells you you can transcend it. It tells you you are free. Huh? We are free. oh yeah, okay, I have to hurry up before it gets too late. Now, follow me a little bit deeper into the rabbit hole. Seems like the rabbit hole. Okay. Get ready. This is gonna seem very abstract. It's just only appear to be abstract. And it should be something visceral, viscerally real as whatever difficulties you're experiencing in life. Okay? Whatever difficulties you're experiencing in life, this should be viscerally real. Okay? Remember when you were meditating, there were different experiences that were taking place. Some experiences were pleasant. The pleasant, peaceful experiences were a message telling you, you're heading in a direction that will give you the experience of the fulfillment of being. But at the same time, don't impose on them the energies of rejection and the energies of grasping, or you will experience, you will not fulfill it. And there were some experiences that were telling you you're not going in the direction of peace, and you are free to go in either direction. Okay? Because of your nature, because of what you are free. There was something that seems to be in the background. It seems at times to be very, very obvious, and yet at the same time very distant. And once in a while we seem to taste it, and as soon as we recognize we taste it, it's gone. And what we are simply looking at is the shadow of it. What we're looking at is the memory of it. We're not looking at it anymore. And we have a sense of it, an intuition of it. There seems to be this container. And the reason that we call it a container is just because of we are in the conceptual world, and we have to use concepts to describe experiences, even though concepts are not fully there, are not fully capable of doing so. In that container, there's a quality that seems to be constantly present. But it's not a quality that is equal to, similar to the experiences that are taking place, the other experiences that are taking place. There's a sense of freedom especially when we allow the mind to, you could be discursive if you want to, I'm not stopping you. When we allow that, there's a kind of freedom. And that kind of freedom seems to be pointing to something where we want to go, direction where we want to go. And as we're heading towards that direction, even though things are appearing, there's something about the appearance of things that points to the space that allows for the appearance to take place. That space that allows for things to take place, it seems to be something you can point to, but as soon as you try to point to it, it goes away. And we want to be able to be aware of it without it going away, and without imposing on it the kind of expectations we have about the other experiences that are taking place. We hear sounds, we see different colors, we see different visions, we have different vibratory, energetic experiences. These are conceptual. But there's something that seems to be happening with them, and you could say it's because of that thing that they are happening. But when you try to look at just that thing itself, the reason that it escapes us is because we are seeking from it the same measure of appearance or realness that the sound, the thoughts, the other things that are taking place. That space is clarity. And simultaneously with that experience of recognizing that there's a kind of a brightness, a kind of a vividness to experience. And when we try to look at the vividness itself, and the reason it escapes us is because we are doing the same thing. We are imposing on the vividness the same thing that we are imposing or expecting and experiencing with the sound, with the energy, with whatever, with thoughts. So this clarity, this vividness, or this luminous quality of experience, it's always present. They're always present, always there. And because they accompany all experiences, acknowledging them, recognizing them, experiencing them, we're not imposing clarity on things. We're not imposing vividness. We're not imposing luminosity on things. That's the experience that is present. That is a deeper understanding of correct view. This is where we have to be very careful. In trying to understand it, we end up with a warped, very wrong view, a very incorrect view. Remember the third thing I mentioned, there's peace and there's suffering, and there's a third thing, which is, you can't quite point to, conceptualize. You can't really say this is it. But it doesn't, it includes those two, the peace and the suffering. It is this clarity. It is this luminosity. It is this spaciousness. It is this freedom. It is this allowing. Understanding that every experience, my painful experience, my pleasant experience, they are in a way, in essence, and I'm going to say something from Nagarjuna that's going to make it blow your mind. This thing that we are seeming to touch, and yet when we try to really touch it, it goes away. And yet when we leave it alone, there it is. So the pain that we experience, the suffering that we experience, and be careful how you understand this. I don't want you to misunderstand this, okay? It doesn't mean that you have to do now, therefore do nothing. Get off the path and, but rather it should encourage us, okay? So the suffering that we experience, the peace that we're able to taste, they are but things arising out of this clarity, arising out of this luminosity. And the clarity, that spaciousness that allows things to be, that you could say that's the, for those of you already are familiar with that term, that's the emptiness of things. Okay. And the luminosity, that's this very strange marriage of blissful consciousness. Now, since everything is merely arising out of that. From that perspective, having that as an actual experience, not pretending to experience it, but having a taste of it. Now that's a more profound, more fun, a more subtle level of correct view. And this correct view doesn't go out and say there's no such thing as suffering. It understands suffering. It doesn't go out and say there's no such thing as peace, or peace is the only existence that's true. But it understands it. It understands them to be third things arising out of the very fundamental nature of those things being clarity and luminosity. And this correct view should not be an abstract. The way to immediately apply it is when you are in pain, when you're experiencing something that needs to be transcended, and you're feeling overwhelmed by the experience. What does it mean to experience being overwhelmed? That sense of, this is it, this is the real me, I have found it, and I suck. When you're being overwhelmed, to identify with the experience as though that is your ultimate nature. To overcome this sense of being overwhelmed by it. Not that it's going to immediately go away, but to understand that, at least at an intellectual level, this is arising merely out of clarity and luminosity. I'm not stuck to this. This is not my real nature. The pain of it is simply telling me that there is a conflict within me that is trying to make this my identity when it is not. And to transcend it is to let go of that part of me that is saying this is my identity. That's transcending it. That's why in the very early sutra, the Buddha said, and listing all the different parts of us, all the different things that we grasp onto. See, if this was self, if this was my real identity, I would not suffer. Okay? Whatever you're experiencing, and you're experiencing suffering along with it, you're simply being reminded, this is not self. And not only this is not self, there's a part that is trying to tell you this is self. There's a lie taking place. We are uncomfortable with the lie. The quote from Nagarjuna that's gonna blow your mind. It's not a direct quote, of course. I have. When one finally understand reality for what it is, one will have gained nothing. And because you have gained nothing, you're finally free. Okay, I think that's enough. And I hope that in some way I address your question. All right, it's time to stop talking. And if there's uh, any any way that you say, oh well, this wasn't quite practical, maybe you can ask a question. Okay. Thank you.
I had a little question, just
A
because
little question.
I audio dropped out for a moment.
And things being relative.
Yeah, relative little. So you were talking about the clarity you described as the spaciousness that allows for these arisings, and the luminosity you described as a marriage of blissful consciousness, and then it cut out. What what would you describe luminosity as?
Oh yeah, luminosity is that awareness. That and that awareness is a awareness which is not stained. It is you could say it's a quality of the clarity itself, not imposing anything. And there's the pure, unadulterated awareness. And this pure, unadulterated awareness is the luminosity. And this pure, unadulterated awareness is experienced as a blissful consciousness.
I'll have to sit with it for a little bit, but yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's like the experience of awareness being aware of itself?
Yes, eventually. Now, don't throw that stuff at me because supposedly awareness cannot be aware of itself. Supposedly. And the example is a knife cannot cut itself, kind of thing. But awareness, being aware of itself, is what is referred to as self-recognition. Okay, it is aware of its nature. It is aware of its nature. It's not like awareness is looking at, oh, look at awareness over there. That's awareness. But it's like the awareness being aware of awareness is water being wet. Since it is awareness, so it abides in being awareness. That's awareness being awareness of itself. It's not like awareness taking itself and throwing it in front of it and say, oh, look, that's me. That's awareness. And that's what they're referring to. That's the kind of understanding that could arise unconsciously in the mind, thinking awareness of like trying to look at your awareness. There's an attempt to throw awareness in front of awareness so you can look at it. You will experience something like that in the mind when you make an attempt to be aware of awareness. But when you just abide in awareness, the very fact that you are aware, that's awareness of awareness. And that's, thank you very much for the question, by the way, for tonight, if I didn't say it again. And I did say that I don't think I will go into the elaborating the Eightfold Path, and I didn't. But maybe some other night we'll go into it. But the question was more towards correct view, and we got a little bit of it. Okay. So whenever you're not dealing with what's going on, you're away from correct view. Just remember that. And when you keep going, diving deeper and deeper into what's actually taking place, that's when you actually arrive at, oh, wow, this layer of blissful awareness, this layer of clear, free, luminous. And then when it's an actual experience, then that's correct view. That's probably what Nagarjuna meant when he said, when you understand middle way in such a way that you're making it as though it's something that exists out there, then you have no understanding of the middle way. When you're grasping to middle way, you're away from middle way. Okay. All right. Okay, kids, you have to get to bed. It's late. Okay. So we're going to do that. If you have questions, you can send me an email. Okay. And if we address it, we can address it as a topic to talk, or I can just answer it in an email if it's further elaboration of what we've talked about. Okay. All right. So get ready to do that meditation. Okay. So as much as you can, recall the experience that you had when you're in meditation without forcing it. As you make adjustments in your posture, moving around, holding on to that remembrance of the experience. And eventually, through the vividness of recalling the experience, you start to taste it. And when you start to taste it, then you surrender to it. Surrender to it in your body. Rejoice, noticing the signs, deepening, enhancing in the body. Let go. In whatever physical, energetic, mental, psychological way you can let go, let go. Notice them. Notice the signs in the breath. Rejoice. Notice the signs in the mind. Give the mind the freedom to just be itself, not grasping to the experiences that come, not rejecting the experiences that arise. And in that, find freedom. Don't grasp at the freedom. Don't reject non-freedom. And notice the space. The intuition is linking us to. And now surrender to it. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose. In through the mouth, release. Surrendering, letting go, surrendering, letting go, letting go, letting go. Feel it taking place in the body, enhancing in the breath, enhancing in the mind. Keep letting go, 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 let go, let go, let go. And in that spaciousness, in that space, freedom, clarity, radiance, and joy. Feel a palpable sense of whatever is could be said to be us, and feel that in any palpable way that you can, sitting in a circle. And as we continue to feel us, a luminous presence appears in the center of our circle. We are linked to it through a ray of light extending from our hearts to its heart. We continue to simply surrender to just what is, not rejecting, not grasping, noticing the clarity, the radiance, making their presence ever more present. And that central us begins to expand, becoming more luminous, radiating, becoming wider and wider, absorbing everything until eventually we are all absorbed into it. And it continues to grow. Your neighborhood, your city, your state, your country, your continent, the entire earth, us. It envelops even the sky, the mountains, the rivers, the oceans, the flying birds, the running animals, us. And in this palpable way, the left hand would not harm the right hand. To harm any part that we see here, whether it's the sky, whether it's the oceans, whether it's the land, whether it's the birds, it will be inflicting self-harm. The same way the right hand is naturally concerned without it being an imposition to take care of the left hand and vice versa. There's no imposition, there's no forced duty to take care of sky, land, water, neighbor. It's simply taking care of us. And this us, which is appearing as a unit, begins to shrink in size and leaving all that it embraces with a sense of us in them until it again comes back to the very center of our circle, having left its imprint of us in each one of us. And without disappearing and yet without appearing, it glows, disappears into each one of us, and each one becomes us. Think of whatever you may have gained from this and be grateful. And share the gift you may have received, whatever it may have been, with others through dedicating tonight's Yoa di Kyoken Sunam Yeshe Sogzok Shin Sunam Yeshe Vechungwe Damba Kunye Topar Sho. And get ready to arise from the meditation first. Take joy in witnessing yourself in that space called meditation. Notice the signs validating that you are in meditation. And with that, joyfully take a nice deep breath that you feel in here, in through the nose, out the mouth. And gently, joyfully reconnect with your immediate surroundings through your sense of touch, sense of hearing, and sense of sight. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Joy.
Thank you, Phuntsok. Nizam had to run off. Thanks everyone for class and Masanda for the question. I put in the chat a link to Phuntsok's Venmo if you want to do a donation that way or become a patron on the Patreon page. These classes are recorded and they'll be up there tomorrow. So, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Here.